I'm Anna and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making chicken pot pie, and it is so easy. It's not going to take that long. If you've never made a homemade chicken pot pie, you have to try this recipe. I promise you'll love it. So let's go over the ingredients. I have two 9-inch deep dish pie crusts. They were frozen. I pricked them both with a fork and I baked them in a 375-degree oven for about 12 minutes. I have one rotisserie chicken that I've picked apart, one diced onion, a 1/3 cup of flour, a 1/3 cup of butter. This is some frozen vegetables. A lot of times when I make this, I use fresh, but I have this on hand, so that's what I'm going to use. It's actually a lot easier to use frozen vegetables. Some poultry seasoning, salt, pepper, and then at the end, we're going to need a splash of cream. And then you're also going to need 2 pie crusts for the top of your pies. And this is my favorite kind to use. They come rolled up. All you have to do is thaw them out and unroll them, and you're good to go. I still have the oven preheated at 375. I'm going to head over to the stove and saute up my onion with my butter. I just turned on the heat to medium, and it's going to take a couple of minutes, but I'm going to wait until my butter melts and then I'll add in my onion. So like I said earlier, a lot of times when I make this, I use fresh vegetables like fresh carrots and celery. And if I had done that today, I would have already sauteed that right now. But since mine are frozen and already soft, then I'll add those in a little bit. Okay, also I wanted to say I forgot one of the main ingredients, which is chicken stock. I like to use water in my Better Than Bouillon base. I've talked about this before in some of my other videos. This is amazing. I always use this kind anytime I need to use chicken stock. So we will get to that in just a minute. My onions are pretty good right now. They've been sauteing over here for about 7 or 8 minutes, and they're just where I want them. They're not really brown, but they're very soft. So now I'm going to add in my 1/3 cup of flour. I'm going to stir this around until I can no longer see any flour. That looks good. I'm going to add in 2 cups of water. I always start off with 2 cups of stock, and then I go from there, and I always add in any more if I think it's too thick. So we'll give this just a minute, and I'm about to add in my base. Alright, so that's just with 2 cups of stock. You can see that's really thick. So I'm going to add about 3/4 of a cup more. I always do this slowly because it's so easy to add a little bit too much and then it's way too loose. I'm going to add a little bit more of this since I just added some more water. Here's my rotisserie chicken. And now my frozen vegetables. And now I'm going to add just a little bit of poultry seasoning. I really just eyeball this. I don't like a ton because it can be overpowering. I do maybe like between 1/2 teaspoon and 1 teaspoon. So I just turned this off the heat. It's still a little bit bubbly, and I'm going to add in about 1/4 cup of heavy cream. ready to fill up my pie crust, but this is still really hot, so I'm gonna let it cool here for maybe 5 minutes, because if I were to do this now and then add my crust, it can make the crust fall apart. So I'm just gonna let this sit here and then we will fill them up. This is also the perfect time to taste it to see if you need to add any salt and pepper, and that's exactly what I just did. I just tasted it and it needed a little bit more, so I just added some salt and pepper. And now I'm just gonna fill up my pie crusts, and the best way that I've found to do this to make them even is to do like 1 ladle here and 1 ladle there. And I go back and forth until it's all gone. I have a little bit of filling left over, and I'm gonna put this in a Ziploc bag and pop it in my freezer so I can use it next time. I've just unrolled my first pie crust to put on top, and I find that it's just a little bit too big every time I do it. So what I do, you can come close and see, I make like almost an inch, I guess, cut right there, and I go all the way around. It's really more like 1/2 inch, and I just cut just the outer edge off because it's just a lot of crust and it could fall off and burn. So I'm just going to do that to both of my crusts. So now I'm just going to lay this over the top and try to get it as centered as I can. And I always tuck it under like this. And now with a fork, I'm just going to press the crust along the edge, and you can see it doesn't really stick, but we're going to add some egg wash in a minute, and so that'll help it stay put. Now I'm going to take my paring knife and do about 4 slits, just so that the steam can escape when it's baking, so it doesn't explode everywhere. I do a little dot in the middle, and I do like that to make it look fancy. Then I'm going to take my egg wash. This is 1 egg that I've beaten with about a teaspoon or so of heavy cream. And if you don't have heavy cream, you could use milk or water. And I've got my pastry brush here. I'm just going to dip it in there and paint all over. Alright, so I'm finished with this pie. I'm going to do the same thing to my other one, and then we will pop them in the oven. I'm going to pop these in the oven now at 375 for probably 30-35 minutes or until golden brown. So I will show you what they look like when they're done. She's saying hot, hot, and yes, it is very hot right now. It is way too hot to taste it now. But we just took it out of the oven and they baked for about 40 minutes at 375. They are beautiful, they are bubbly, they smell delicious, but we're gonna let them cool for a few minutes before we dig in. All right, my kids ditched me, so it's just me and the pie. So it is still really hot. Actually, it hadn't been cooling for long, but I've got to go to my sister's house tonight, so I need to taste it while I can so I can get going. So I'm just gonna cut me like the smallest little bite, and since it's still really hot, it probably will fall apart, but it's still gonna taste really good. Alright, this is extremely hot, so while it cools off, I'll tell you a couple things. Number one, if you only want one pie for dinner, like if you have a small family and you don't need 2 pies, what you should do is still make this amount of filling and then put half of it in the freezer for next time. So that's just a thought, but I really recommend that you just go ahead and make 2 because it is so good. I promise you'll probably eat both pies if you have a small family. Oh, it's hot. About burnt my tongue there. It is so good. Better than the frozen kind that you buy. It is amazing. I really hope that you give this recipe a try. If you do, please let me know. Let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see next. And we've got one more video after this of a summer recipe, and then it's fall recipes, and I'm so excited. So we will see you next time. Bye-bye.